Cool. Right. So after that brief interruption, I'll check in. I don't know if you carried on discussing while I was restarting my computer, but yeah. What have you made a decision yet on which threat you're going after?
I'm not sure that we have, but it sounded like we were leaning toward the Jin Lane murders.
Sure thing. That sounds good. And I assume that everyone is going to go along the resolution of the threat, but obviously you are free to try and do other things if you wish. But yeah. Cool.
I'm on board.
Awesome. Cool. So,
should we talk at all about how we attempt to approach this? Or
yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Do you have how do you think you are going to approach this? Some sort of just in I suppose almost in like I'm thinking Blades in the Dark style. Are you kind of planning on doing this like noisily, as it were? Are you going to try and sneak your way in? What are your thoughts?
Well, our dealings with the Society Obscura thus far have been more or less friendly, right? Like we haven't really stirred up any trouble with them directly per se. So perhaps we could just attend as guests, but of course with the intention of interrupting the ritual.
Didn't you have an open invitation, Eloise, from the Reverend Nathaniel?
That's been hidden away, and that was to some event. I don't think to this particular.
Not this particular orgy, but just any general orgy.
It was maybe one of the planning meetings to organize the orgy.
Cool.
Totally.
I mean, I mean, they got to be getting, deliveries of wine barrels and stuff. I think we sneak on, and then once we're aboard, we're disguised as actually invited participants. That's what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sneak aboard, and then we put on our masks and blend it.
Oh yeah, maybe. What's the place that Sean LeBron works at? Grapes something on.
What is it? The Bunch of Grapes?
The Bunch of Grapes. Yes, the Bunch of Grapes. Yeah, maybe they commission him to provide the booze. And
we get snuck aboard inside of wine barrels.
In wine barrels. That sounds cramped, but okay.
It's on theme.
Yeah, I like that.
They're big wine barrels.
Yeah. So, but no, that sounds like a plan. So we will have the first unseen, and I will introduce what it is as well. Been thrown off my rhythm. So yeah, the prison hulk at Woolwich. Moored near the industrial town of Woolwich are a number of hollowed out old warships that serve as temporary prisons for convicts set to be transferred to Australia and other penal colonies. One of these prison hulks is the HMS Bellerophon, now called the HMS Captivity. Two young cook is walking above and below deck, passing out the evening's portion of hard biscuits and pea soup. So the paint scene here for everyone. How do we know the captivity is a nightmare of filth and desperation?
I think there are leaks that keep the interior wet constantly that would have to be repaired if there wasn't a supply of forced labor to bail the ship out with buckets in shifts at all times.
I think we see little black insects crawling over a sleeping inmate's face and like nesting in his ears.
And also, we see these cramped latrines that are obviously not functional and overflowing with waste. Yeah, that's pretty filthy.
Excellent, excellent. So, I think we'll just skip straight ahead to the barrels that you've concealed yourself in have been loaded aboard the ship. You can feel the engines start, the paddles start to turn as the ship gets underway. After a short amount of time, you can extract yourself from the barrels that you're in. Yeah, I'll give you a moment to describe how you look and how this is for you, if you wish.
Can I suggest that the guests at this party are all dressed in sort of costumes that are reminiscent of various like figures from ancient mythology? Like perhaps we got a shot of the crowd out on the pleasure barge, and we see a young man like dressed in sort of a sexy version of like ancient Greek armor, and he's like with another young man who's like got these white wings strapped on his back and is not wearing much else, and he's dressed as Pegasus, who was famously tamed by Bellerophon, which is what his companion is dressed as.
Awesome, awesome. I like it. And in fact, I will. So I think at the point you're sort of at the moment in sort of the hold of the ship, as it were. But as you are kind of heading out, we'll get a little description of the pleasure barge Prosymnus. It's a small but luxuriously equipped steam barge on the Thames. It has a sprung dance floor up on the deck, and down and under that deck is a gilded banqueting hall. Obviously, you'll be coming up sort of from underneath, as it were, so you won't be viewing that bit of it first. There's a paint the scene question here, which is, what beautiful piece of decoration do you see aboard the barge? And what sign of the filthy reality of London do you see around it?
Say it one more time, David, if you
Yep,
could.
sure thing. And I will copy it into the chat as well. What beautiful piece of decoration do you see aboard the barge? And what sign of the filthy reality of London do you see around it?
I think that there's a kind of statue with these like depicting this kind of sea monster with these like writhing tentacles, which is meant to evoke the sea monster Scylla. And it's like painted gold and like looks very opulent. And there is an attendant on the barge whose only job, it seems, is to keep pigeons from alighting onto the tentacles as they're trying to scrounge scraps from the barge's food supply.
Excellent, excellent.
Well, if we have Scylla, then we should have Charybdis, right? So I imagine if you look off the stern of the boat, where it's kind of in its wake, and there's a kind of a whirlpool, a blackish whirlpool, and all the garbage that's in the Thames has accumulated in that whirlpool that's formed by the wake of the ship. And so that's the filth. And then in terms of the decoration, I imagine that they've put up lighting somehow. I guess some kind of very fancy new teeny tiny gas lighting that's hung throughout the deck of the boat, and that seems very opulent in the sense that it's a totally new technology that no one's seen before. Maybe they improvised it from the kind of lights that they use for the photography studio.
Awesome, awesome.
Wow, that was so good. Really stumped me.
That's okay. We can.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not coming up with anything.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, not a problem. So yeah, we. I think as the three of you, I said, you're kind of extracting yourself from these barrels and making your way to the along the sort of the one of the external deck bits where we've just seen you go through. You will see a man coming towards you. He is dressed in basically like a kind of toga type of affair. He has a mask on. It's a fairly nondescript kind of mask. It kind of probably actually almost looks like one of the sort of the mask of tragedy. It's that sort of look to it. But he is clearly kind of heading down towards where you have been coming from, and he'll kind of pause for a moment, and say, "Excuse me, do I know you?" As he sort of looks you up and down. Have you been? Well, he won't say, ask if you're here for things. He assumes you are, but he said, the the celebration is obviously going on in the banqueting hall. And he points towards it. I was just coming to check on the wine.
I think Fujisawa is also wearing like a little kind of toga dress sort of thing. And the costume and her hair is already a little bit mussed from being cooped up in the wine barrels. So I think she gives this man a placid smile and says, "Oh, this is rather embarrassing, but we three started the celebrations a little bit early. The wine cellar was the only place we could find some privacy. So sorry."
Well, I do hope you haven't made a mess down there too much. And I'll ask you to make me the night move with presence, please. What are you afraid will go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve here?
I mean, yeah, I suppose she's afraid, but he'll see right through the lie and have them forced off the boat.
Sure thing. I think it's actually worse than that. He will see through the lie, but it will draw the attention of the spirit of abandon onto you as well, which is likely to be worse. So I'm actually just going to be back in 2 seconds, so I'm just going to pause the recording. Apologies for that. So yeah, what did you get then, Fujisawa there?
A 9.
A 9, cool. So I think that the man is going to nod and say, "Very well, very well. Well, I suppose I will see you back inside in a short while." And he will turn on his heels and head on his way. But you will you will feel almost like a as if you're being watched almost. And if you would like to take the condition marked by the spirit of abandon, Fujisawa.
Oh, I love that condition. I also wanted to mark the mask. I'll keep it. I'll take the condition. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, sure. So yeah, obviously, yeah, if you want to mark a mask, that's always cool. But no, that's fine if you want to keep it.
But
And we will go to our next unseen as you carry on your way. So this one is for Brian. So narrate a scene in which we see the convicts at leisure. How do they entertain themselves? How do they maintain their connection to God and society, if at all?
I mean, we see they've carved into wooden structures of the ship. A board to play checkers. They've made little just out of scraps that they got a hold of. They've made dice. It's not much room to move around and do anything much more active than that. So they've made games like that to pass the time. There's probably gambling going on with whatever limited possessions or food that they have. And yeah, I think maybe once a week a priest is brought to hold some kind of service. Maybe some of the more hopeful prisoners are up front actually paying attention, and others are just sleeping in the back, because this is one of the few times where you can let your guard down a bit, because no one's you're not being forced to do any work, or it's going to be punished very severely if you go starting a fight in the middle of the sermon. So it's actually one of the few times you can actually get some genuine rest.
Cool. Thank you. So, yeah, you will enter the banqueting hall, and there is another paint scene here, and then finally I'll let you actually get to it. But where are we? So yeah, so this is a revel being held by the cult of the fruitful vine, in a hall decorated in imitation of classical style, with much white drapery, lush purple couches, and erotic statuary. Most of the guests wear masks and all wear stained white robes. The air is heavy with the scent of wine and sex, and evidence of every conceivable carnal pleasure is on display. Access is by invitation only, obviously, but you have bypassed that requirement. What the paint the scene question for the bacchanal itself is: what is one expression of vice here that would shock polite society, and how do we know that those involved are very much of that class? So I'll again put that in the chat at the side, and feel free to jump in whenever you have an answer to that, and then we'll get into the meat of things.
I think that there are more of those brawny and scantily clad young men with the white sort of Pegasus wings on their back, and they're kind of trotting around the perimeter of the banquet hall, on all fours, with some of the guests riding on their backs, and we can tell that these guests are of polite society from their absolutely perfect horseback riding form.
Nice.
And I imagine that in one corner of the room, one of these Pegasi is on his hands and knees, surrounded by a group of party goers, and one of the party goers has what appears to be a tail, well, the camera will cut away for the sake of modesty before the actual fitting occurs. And the way we know that this is people of a certain class is their the way they clap politely as the fitting goes forward.
Excellent.
I think despite the fact that everyone's costumed in these to match these different mythological characters, most of the attendees couldn't help themselves, but including a few accessories, some jewelry, some rings, some necklace here and there that doesn't necessarily match, but they had to, have to continue to display your wealth a bit, even if it doesn't quite match the costume. And I think it becomes clear that there's some sort of rule that if you strip off your costume and hand it to someone, they have to take theirs off and put yours on and accept the trade.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, yeah, as you kind of enter this scene, you will be able to make out the Abernathys kind of holding court at one end of the room. They are both wearing like this is very much like a lot of the folk here, that they're the sort of their attempts at togas do very much have that kind of like, we have literally just thrown a sheet on and that's good enough kind of thing. But the Abernathys are sort of wearing very well made looking classical garb. I'm blanking on first names. Mr. Abernathy, anyway, is wearing his moon mask. But Portia is she has much more of a just like a kind of domino mask type thing going on, and you can kind of recognize her face underneath that. You will see that they seem to be in conversation with a few others, and they are near what does look kind of like an altar type setup. There's kind of grapes draped over this, and it probably is over that sort of. But it doesn't maybe look quite the same as in that picture. But there is this big wooden chair. Almost like a throne, of which, so these grapes have been draped, and there's flasks of wine, there's glasses of wine sort of arrayed around it, and so on. But I guess what's your approach? What are you going to do?
So Lady Camila, first off, is dressed. Her costume is, she has a diadem on. She has, the toga, the requisite drapery, but with a gold edge on it. She's carrying a scepter, and there's a couple of peacock feathers in her tucked into her back, a little scrunched from being in that barrel for a while. But so she's coming as Hera. That's her outfit. I think she is going to attempt to gain access to the wine. And she is going to attempt to drop a very powerful emetic. Is that what you call it? The things that make people vomit. I think those are emetics. So she's brought a powder in a small vial that's very potent, and she is going to attempt to contaminate, I guess would be the correct word, the wine barrels.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
And I'm sure she's afraid all sorts of things are going to happen.
But yeah, yes, I will ask. Yeah, what this will be a night move. It'll probably be with composure, I think. But yeah, what are you afraid will happen if this goes wrong? Or you lose your nerve?
Yes, I got it right. It is an emetic. I got it. If I think she's concerned that she will be caught, and I think Lady Camilla, one of her fears is always loss of control, and that she's on a boat with potential enemies surrounding her, and that she may be captured and violated in some way by these crazy people.
Yeah, I think it's worse than that. That she will be just literally torn apart by the revelers here.
A la Maenads.
Indeed, indeed.
Troy never got along with Dionysus anyway, so it makes sense. All right, I had to roll, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And it's a night move, and with composure.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see if I have anything in my. I always forget to look. My little bag of tricks. Nope, nothing that would help me with this. Okay, so it'll be a roll with composure. Oh, it's a 12.
A 12. Excellent. So yeah, I think this has you are able to deposit the poison in the wine, and it has its intended effect. People start to sicken and feel ill. I think what can you gain here? I think actually what this I think what you I think what you've done here is this it's not just this isn't just causing a distraction, but as many of the guests do start to feel ill and the like, it's starting to sober some of them up, and you can almost feel that sort of charge that's been there in the background sort of seems to just die away a little, as you can kind of intuit that whatever this is obviously drawing on the inebriation of the patrons, as it were.
Cool.
Yeah. I think though Professor, at this point, as people are starting to kind of vacate the banqueting hall, you are going to feel a sudden rush of almost like, it's like a cross between almost like vertigo and as if you had just like, you know, downed a very, very large glass of spirits or something. There's just like this immediate like rush to your head, and then you can feel something start to crawl into your head. The spirit of abandon is going to try and possess you, and you can resist this. It will be a sensitivity, I think. But yeah, it will be a night move, obviously. What are you afraid will happen if you are possessed by the spirit of abandon?
I guess that once it has me, it's not going to. I won't. Yeah, it won't ever give me up.
Yeah, absolutely. It will get its hooks into you for good. But I think not before it uses you to vent its rage on your companions. So yeah, if you'd like to make me that roll, as I said, this will be with sensitivity, and you will be rolling this at disadvantage due to your condition.
Let's see. Do I have, it's not scrolling. Do I have something that could help? Book of Blood Curses and Cures. Could I have?
Yeah, I think that's.
That
I think
sense.
so. I think you could probably invoke that in some way.
Yeah, I read that in advance. Had some kind of
Yeah.
Took some kind of preventative measures to. Yeah. maybe I pull up that flask I've been using, but there's actually, it's not alcohol at this point. It's some herbal concoction that's I'm hoping will
Excellent.
help.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, in which case you'll be rolling that flat no advantage or disadvantage is the one counteracts the other. But yeah, go ahead.
It's a 7.
7. Okay. So I think you are able to repel the attempted possession by this creature. I think actually that is going to be the complication here, is that it is immediately going to try and possess Fujisawa instead. If you mark a master to up that to a 10+, you'll essentially buy a bit of time by kind of you know, by sort of engaging it in a mental duel or however you choose to think of it, but otherwise it will sort of be immediately free to prey on someone else.
Why don't we want to use this threat mask? Do we know what that is?
Yeah, you can go for that if you want. The mask of The Mask of Silenus, I think this one is, if memory serves. Yes, the Mask of Silenus.
Let's do that.
Cool. So the prompt for this, which we'll either pick up at the end of this session or next time, is, let's get the text up again. Each hunter narrates a flashback to a moment of intoxication and what insight it grants them now. That is our prompt. But you don't have to do that right now. We can pick that up later on. But yes, as you kind of fight back against this creature, you can feel like and it's just like heightened emotion, heightened passions, drunkenness, rage, but you're able to kind of force it back with the power of your will, and you can kind of feel it, as I said, it's almost like scrabbling at you, but unable to gain purchase. Actually, sorry, we'll go to our next, which I think actually means it will be UL for our next unseen. Narrator scene in which we see a convict being punished by a ship's officer. What did the convict do, and how is the punishment being carried out?
We see this convict in like a dark part of the hold of the prison hulk. He's young. He has a gentle face and soft hands. He's one of the convicts that has always maintained his innocence. And I think his crime for which he's being punished now is starting a prayer group among the inmates to continue the work of the visiting priest, to help restore the inmates' hope, to bolster their desire to be better when they're out, giving them strength to get through this ordeal of imprisonment. And the guards do not take kindly to that, as the convicts are on the prison hold to be punished, after all, not rehabilitated. They are of the criminal sort, and nothing will change that. At least that's what the guards believe. And so we see a guard looming over this convict. I think it's the middle of the night. It's clear that he's not gotten much sleep. And the guard says, "There is no God here, and he will not come to save you." The convict kind of shakes his head slowly. He refuses to repeat it. And the guard's thick fist makes contact with the convict's face as he says, "Say it. There is no God here, and he will not come to save you." The convict again refuses, even as these like hot tears begin to stream down his cheeks. And this goes on for some time. The camera sort of focuses on the porthole window through which the convict can see the sparkling stars and the light of the moon, all of this like proof of celestial heavenly beauty. And he keeps gazing at it and keeps refusing to repeat the phrase as his tears mix with the blood from the beating, leaving wine red streaks down his face.
Excellent. Thank you. And yeah, Fujisawa. While Lady Camila is disrupting things, and the professor is fighting against the influence of the spirit, what are you doing?
I think Fujisawa's main goal here is to make sure Periwinkle gets out of all of this safely. So, assuming that he was with the Abernathys, she's making her way over there to try to coax him out.
Yeah, you will see that Periwinkle is indeed over with the Abernathys. He is basically just dressed in the loosest sense of the word, with some artfully draped grapevines around his body. Not quite restraining him, but you know, it's and he has sort of a crown of ivy and vines on his head.
Fujisawa, I think she's like approaching directly. So she's not, I mean, she's masked anyway, but she wouldn't expect the Abernathys to recognize one of the help in any case. But she'll like kind of sidle up to Periwinkle and say, Periwinkle, I don't know what the Abernathys have told you about your presence here tonight, but you are in danger. You need to come with me.
Excellent. Yeah, I would like you to I think this will be a night move, and I think probably with, I'm going to say composure here. I am going to ask you to roll at disadvantage for your marked by the spirit of abandon, because distracted though it is by the professor, it does still kind of have you on its radar. What are you afraid will happen if this goes badly, or you lose your nerve?
I think Fujisawa is afraid that it will become clear that Periwinkle already knows exactly what his role is here and is like really jazzed about it.
Yeah, I think it's worse even than that. I think that he is already starting to manifest the possession of Dionysus.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. So on the dice, it's a 10 with disadvantage. And then you said
Nice.
composure?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a 12, yeah.
12, excellent. So yeah, I think that is going to work. He's going to step on. I think that the additional advantage I'm going to give you there for getting 12 plus is going to simply be the fact that not only do you get him out of there, but the Abernathys don't even notice that he's gone at the moment. They're too busy kind of preparing some elaborate part of this ritual, and not paying any mind to Periwinkle at the minute. So the two of you are able to slip out of there without any issue. I'm going to turn to Jose and ask for our last unseen prompt, please. So, narrate a scene in which we see a convict finding comfort and companionship within the bulkheads of the captivity.
All right, so imagine we see the camera coming down into like the bowels of the ship, and it's dark and it's nighttime, and it's actually pretty quiet since this isn't really a ship that's in motion in anywhere, and all you hear is the water dripping because of all the leaks, and you see these dark bulkheads, And then in that eerie kind of quiet, dripping with water, you hear this kind of quiet sobbing and also like a whispering. And then as the camera turns a corner, we see two men who are sitting on the floor, one with his arm around the other one, kind of behind him. And the smaller man in front is crying, kind of this kind of soft sobbing. And it's very hot down here, so both the men are sweating and they're perspiring. And the smaller man his face is all bruised. And the man behind him is stroking his hair with his other hand and speaking in a whisper, in a very kind of soothing whisper into his ear, and every once in a while kissing him on the forehead. And slowly the sobbing kind of quiets down, and the boy, the younger man, lets off I don't know exactly what the sound, like a horse sound, like a sigh, a horse sigh, as if something's being released. And then his sobbing quiets, and as the camera pulls away.
Awesome. So, I think you, as I said, you will be able to get, Periwinkle out into safety, which will kind of thwart the Abernathys' attempt to summon Dionysus this night. But I am going to ask if there is any last things anyone wants to do as you kind of escape or otherwise from the ship.
I have something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think after she poisoned the wine, she slipped out and went to the engine, not the engine room, the bridge. No, that's what a ship is. And we see her bribing the captain with some coin to bring the ship back in into harbor, into the docks. And as the ship begins pulling into, I think I was going to say, and as the ship begins pulling into the docks, we have a quick flashback to Lady Camila at the London Times, speaking to a reporter there and letting them know that she's going to just have a scandal if she's on the docks at such and such hour. And so there are some reporters there about to capture the big scoop on these folks as they disembark, vomiting and scantily clad, and in all sorts of compromising positions.
Excellent. Alois, how about yourself? Anything else you want to do aboard the vessel before we wind up?
No, I don't think so.
And Fujisawa, how about yourself?
I think we see back at Hargrave House, Fujisawa leading Periwinkle downstairs toward the servants' quarters. And she's saying to him, I can explain more later about everything that was going on there, but for now, what you need to know is that you are not going back to those people. And you don't have to stay here, but I think you should until you figure out what's next for you. There are rooms in the servants' quarters. Reginald and I will bring down some fresh linens. And don't mind the notches on the bedposts. And if the stale smell begins to bother you, there are candles in the nightstand. I'll bring some matches.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. And I think that's where we'll leave things this evening. As we're just hitting past now. We'll pick up masks at the beginning of next session. Other than that, thank you very much, everyone. Sorry, we'll do our dawn questions quickly. So I think it's always useful to do those whilst the session is still fresh in the memory. So did the hunters answer a question? Yes. And did the hunters resolve a threat? Likewise, yes. Actually, I don't know how many people can still get XP, but we'll go through anyway. So, Lady Camilla, did you experience an echo in the night?
I think I did with the horse, Winnie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that's cool. That's cool. Did you leverage your social status to gain the upper hand?
probably. I can't advance anymore. So, but I think I did when I visited the Abbey.
Yeah, and I felt like as well that the reporters at the end definitely felt like that as well. That's awesome. Did you use your loyalty to Her Majesty to justify your brutal actions?
I don't think I was particularly brutal tonight, so
Fair.
I'll work on that next time.
Yeah. And Fujisawa, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yeah, I had the party goer dressed as Bellerophon and the former name of the Age of Mass Captivity. Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you subtly express sexual desire for your employer in the way you dressed them or served them?
I did not interact with my employer.
No, unfortunately. Yeah. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
Yeah,
absolutely. The scene with the Brother Samuel definitely fits that. And Eloise, did you experience an echo in the night?
No.
Did you cause problems for your society while helping Hargrave House? I'd say probably a yes on that because you cashed in your secret information. Did you let down Hargrave House while serving your society? Cool. So, that is where we will leave things for tonight. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to...
I finally get the reward for the Jinley clue that I covered up.
Yes, yeah, cool.
I really quickly, Memento is a servant. Memories a servant.
Yes,
Memento is a servant.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a bottle of emetic wine to Lady Camilla.
Excellent. Hopefully letting her know what it is first.
Yes. She is duly warned.
Excellent. And yes, you will indeed. So yes, I don't actually have the mastermind sheet open at the moment. I will just get that quickly. So again, we'll do that now while I still remember. Yes, I think that's an appropriate one. Yeah, we'll go with that one. In your, as you are exiting the as you're exiting the pleasure barge, Professor, you will spot, it's probably, you know, in the confusion, the Abernathys have left behind a sacrificial dagger, sort of chased with gold. And I will add that to the list of mastermind clues. Brilliant, thank you very much. And yeah, I will, as I said, we'll stop recording now. So thank you very much, everyone.